Now listen up.
Because Insights EDU 2025 is coming, and this is the conference you don't want to miss. Meet us February 12th through 14th in New Orleans for one of our favorite higher education marketing and enrollment management events of the year. Imagine 3 days packed with actionable insights and the latest innovations in higher ed. We're talking top industry experts, real-world case studies, and hands-on workshops designed to help you grow your programs, boost engagement, and elevate your student experience. This is your chance to hear the latest higher ed trends from speakers at Google, Reddit, Meta, MIQ Digital, and schools across the country. Mark your calendars, get your team, and get ready to welcome the era of the modern learner at Insights EDU 2025. Register now at insightsedu.com and secure your spot. We'll see you there.
Attention.
Registration is now open for the Middle States Commission on Higher Education 2024 Annual Conference, Protecting the Future. Champions for Higher Education, December 11th through 13th, 2024 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Don't miss out. Register today at msche.org/annual-conference or head to msche.org and click on the conference link. I'll see you there.
Hey everybody, this is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience, and today we are extremely excited to announce our paid subscription service. By subscribing today, you will get exclusive early access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content. That's right, original content and invites to special events, all while helping to sustain EdUp. To become a subscriber, go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and subscribe to our free email newsletter to learn how you can get access. Again, go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to Ed Up on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Dr. Joe Salustio back with you on another episode, and this is a special one for me. And let me tell you why. Because yesterday, of course, this is going to be about, unless you're a subscriber. If you're a subscriber, you're going to hear this probably this afternoon. But if you're not a subscriber, you should be. But it'll be about 3 weeks before you hear this episode. And today, as I record this, is the first day that we have moved on to Presidents 301, 302, and more. So it was a big goal of ours at the EdUp Experience to say that we could interview 300 college and university presidents, chancellors, CEOs, and people have been asking me why. Why was 300 such a special number? And the answer is, I don't know, because we passed 200 before we could even think about it. And it was like, okay, let's get to 300. And in getting to that 300, and this is no joke, we believe that we've created some of the most valuable higher education leadership content on the planet. You think about some of the people that we've been able to talk to. It's mind-blowing, and not because of us, because of them. So it's this heartfelt thank you to the presidents, chancellors, CEOs, owners. In that 300 presidents, we've interviewed private college presidents, public state universities, community college presidents, career college presidents, publicly traded colleges. It's been everywhere, and we've tribal colleges, HBCUs, and we've never said no. Why? Because every institution deserves to have a voice in this very important game that we play called higher education, because we have a responsibility to students to make sure that we celebrate higher ed. There's enough detractors out there for us to swallow big gulps negativity. What we do and how we decide to be positive is the real question. And I've got somebody here that I know is positive. And the reason I know he's positive, besides his very positive disposition, is the fact that his organization has been growing fairly rapidly during, I would say, pretty disruptive times in higher education. I'm going to ask him why, and you should listen. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. He's Steve Beard. He is the CEO at Adtalem Global Education. Steve, welcome to an EdUp Mic. How are you?
I'm fantastic. It's really great to be with you.
I think I forgot to tell you that I also use in-episode sound effects. You're going to find out as we move along here. Usually I make that disclaimer early, but, you know. here's an example.
Surprise.
So now you're caught up. Tell us about Adtalem Global Education. I think there's probably many people that have heard the name without really knowing what a huge impact you have. So first, set the stage for us. What does Adtalem do? What kind of portfolio of schools do you have? And we'll go from there.
Sure, happy to do it. So Adtalem is a national leader in post-secondary higher education, and we are the largest provider of professional talent to U.S. healthcare. We go to market through 5 institutions, all post-secondary higher ed, all of which have a center of gravity in healthcare. Chamberlain University, which is the largest nursing school in the United States, is our flagship. Walden University, one of the largest fully online comprehensive universities, is one of our schools. The Ross University School of Medicine, the Ross University School of Veterinary Medicine, and the American University of the Caribbean. Those 5 institutions, Joe, when you take them together, they represent about 83,000 students. They have over 300,000 alumni. And they are also collectively the largest producer of nurses, physicians, social workers, and veterinarians in the United States. So it's a fantastic group of institutions, a great community of alumni, and an important partner to U.S. healthcare.
Amazing.
So just a bit here, the largest provider of healthcare education in the United States. Just let that sit for a second, because I'm not sure most people would realize that Adtalem is doing that, right? That is you, that you are leading the company that's producing this number of medical professionals. I think people who are listening to this may or may not know. They think, oh, it's got to be some other big state flagship school somewhere, whatever. That's not true, and that's such a humongous responsibility, honor, really. Do you think people know that generally?
I don't know that the story is as well understood as it should be. As you know, U.S. healthcare is suffering from chronic workforce shortages. Any of us who've had to wait to see a specialist or wait to get in to even see our primary care physician knows this firsthand. And so we're proud to be able to participate in addressing those workforce shortages by producing day one ready, practice ready clinicians at scale, and producing them in the areas where the needs are the greatest.
Where are the needs the greatest? Is it nursing? Is it doctors? Is it technicians? I mean, the medical field, much like technology, is advancing very quickly. There's jobs in the medical field that didn't exist 10 years ago,
Sure.
that have manifested themselves because of disease, because of COVID. What is the need? And so where is the need, and is it fillable? Are there enough people?
Sure. So it's acute across all of the areas that we train in. Nursing, obviously, being the largest. Huge shortage across the United States, whether that's in rural areas or urban areas, whether that's in the hospital setting or in home health care. And those shortages are growing because of demographic changes. There's a generation of nurses that will leave practice here soon, and the need to backfill them at scale is large and growing. Physicians, while not quite as severe, there's a huge shortage there, and in particular, Joe, in the primary care internal medicine space, getting a general practitioner, family practice physician is increasingly difficult, and we're proud that a disproportionate number of our students go into those specialties. During the pandemic, we all created a ton of new habits, but lots of folks got pets, and the need for companion veterinarians has grown dramatically, and we produce about 9% of all veterinarians that come to practice in the U.S. every year. So it's the shortages are large and growing across the board. Are they addressable? We certainly hope so, and one of the reasons we're investing in the growth of our institutions is to play a bigger part in addressing that shortage.
Yeah, you know, I am not a pet person, so my yikes button comes around when I talk to pets. But so many people have dogs and cats. You think about that as one of the consequences of COVID that probably needs a little bit more attention is people all went out and got pets, more dogs, and more cats to keep themselves busy. That means more veterinarians. It means you need more care. We need more medicine. And it never seems like enough. And by the way, and let me just soapbox for a minute, because this is what I like to do. And of course, this is not what I'm about to say is not endorsed by Steve, nor is it Adtalem Global Education. But you wish that sometimes the nursing boards would just be a little bit easier to work with. They're very difficult. They control the flow of nurses. And I don't know if it's because there's salary control, where if you flood the market, there's salaries reduced because you have more qualified candidates. But it seems to me like there could be more nurses, but I think that there's not, for a lot of specific reasons. They're very difficult to navigate the different nursing boards in the different states. I don't know if you want to respond to that, to take a hard pass, Steve, but it's complicated.
No, so we educate nurses in most of the United States. Chamberlain University, for example, has physical campuses in 17 states across the U.S. Walden University, which has within it the third largest nursing school in the country, educates nurses in over 26 states. Every state, as you point out, has a state board of nursing, which obviously has the ability to cap enrollments at a nursing school, subject to their satisfaction that the academic outcomes of those schools meet their criteria. What I'm really proud of is that across Chamberlain and across Walden, we operate in most places without caps because we've been able to do a couple of things at the same time. Deliver really strong academic outcomes, great NCLEX pass rates, but at the same time, grow the number of nurses by expanding access to that profession to lots of people who, for one reason or another, wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to go. Lots of traditional nursing schools are relatively small enrollments. We, again, focus on building a student support model that can accommodate a larger population of students so that we can have an outsized impact on addressing those shortages. So we've got great relationships with the state boards of nursing all over the country. I think most professionals like a little bit of scarcity. It's good for compensation, it's good for pay. But I think they also recognize that those shortages have a real impact on the quality of care we all receive. And so we're proud to be able to do this at scale.
Excellent.
I always say, if you really want to know how good of an operator you are, start a nursing program. You're going to find out very quickly if you know how to operate.
Yeah.
The complication, the expense, sometimes the enrollment caps, the requirements by state of fixed costs that you have to have. You really know if you can operate a nursing program. And that's somebody, until you go and try it and hopefully succeed, you don't know how complicated it really is and how necessary. You know, you have been growing. Adtalem is, I was looking at your stock price, publicly traded. It's gone up by like 30% over the last 6 months to a year. I see and read that you have a number of investors that are putting in more, infusing more dollars, seeing the value in what you do. What do you attribute this growth to during, look, other schools are closing. There's schools closing. There's CEOs and presidents going, I can't do it. What's your secret, and what's been for what you want to share, what's the recipe?
Yeah, so I think from the perspective of an investable idea, this idea that you've got strong secular demand trends in healthcare across the domains I mentioned: nursing, medicine, social work, veterinary medicine. You've got probably the only scaled national provider of these graduates to healthcare, with a proven track record of strong academic outcomes and a proven track record of being able to attract students to those programs with a value proposition that's really rooted in access, student support, and student success. I think for a lot of investors, that's a compelling investable idea that offers an attractive financial return, but also offers the opportunity for an attractive social impact. And so increasingly, our stock, our company is being viewed by ESG, social impact investors, and other folks who want not only an attractive financial outcome, but want to know that their investments are making the world a better place. And we're really pleased to have been able to generate that kind of interest in the investment community.
Epic.
But Steve, you're publicly traded and you're serving shareholders. And so you can't possibly be creating great outcomes like a nonprofit institution that doesn't create profit, right, Steve? I mean, because nonprofit institutions don't create profit. I mean, this is a common thing that, as someone who worked in proprietary education, heard, boy, did it chap. My we don't want to go to the have to hit the swear word button in here, but that is common, and I will tell you, it continues to be common in nonprofit higher education, where there are people that absolutely have their nose turned up at schools that offer that operate in the proprietary space, career colleges and otherwise. It happens in real time, and it happens to people who come from those institutions who happen to end up working at a nonprofit and are never looked at the same, like they're not in it for the same reason. How do you respond to that? Because that is out there.
Yeah, what I would say, Joe, is that tax status notwithstanding, all institutions in the higher ed have to make money. They're all in the business of making money through the delivery of what we all hope is a high quality set of academic programs. So I went to two flagship state universities, Indiana University, University of Illinois. Sit on the board of visitors at my alma mater. Those institutions, they need to generate revenue. They need to generate revenue in excess of cost. You can call that profit. You can call that a distribution of revenue, but
in nonprofit, we call it surplus, but it's different.
That's right. That's right. So, but what I think is interesting about our model is we don't make money through research. We don't finance athletic programs. We don't spend a ton building large businesses, large buildings, and leafy campuses. Most of the proceeds of what we do goes into building a student support model that can accommodate more students successfully. My commercial imperative and my academic imperative are mutually reinforcing. The fact of the matter is, to the point we discussed earlier around the state boards of nursing, I can't be successful if I don't deliver satisfactory NCLEX scores, if I don't get good academic outcomes. So if I'm not delivering a product that helps my students master content, pass the NCLEX, I'm not going to be in business very long. And I certainly am not going to be able to deliver for my shareholders. So the better I do at supporting our students through our programs onto graduation and off to their careers, the better we do as an enterprise, the better our investors do. So there's no conflict between our academic mission, the value proposition we take to students, and the need to deliver a return on that value proposition for our students and our owners.
It's not what you know, it's what you can prove.
I love the way you said that. First of all, the argument, it's tax status. That's what we're talking about. A lot of people think it's an operational model, proprietary ed, nonprofit. It's not. It's a tax status. And what you said about outcomes, if you create an outcome that is somehow lesser than, and that person does not get a job, your business model is broken. You wouldn't be able to offer Title IV financial aid, and therefore wouldn't be accredited, and so on and so on. So you have to offer high quality education that gets somebody placed in a job in their field and working and making money in order to keep accreditation and Title IV, and so on. It's a cycle. It's the accreditation. You're accredited. You have standards, both state and programmatic, right? Let's not kid ourselves. Right. Medical programs have very high level programmatic standards that have to be met outside of a normal, faculty oversee this or oversee that, and that takes a lot of extra attention and resource to make sure that you're hitting those benchmarks, right?
That's correct. I mean, our programs, what we love about them is that they're subject to the same objective criteria that any other program of its type is subject to, whether it's in a not-for-profit school, public or private, or for-profit school. Our nurses all take the NCLEX. Our vets all take the NAVLE exam. Our physicians all take USMLE, Step 1 and Step 2. A student can compare our outcomes on those exams to that of any other university and make a determination for themselves as to whether they like those outcomes. All of our medical students participate in the U.S. match. You can look at our match rates, which are publicly available. Our cohort default rates, pre the Biden repayment reset, we're the lowest in higher education because our students are highly employable. They earn a living wage, and they can service any debt they incur to finance their education. In a school like Chamberlain, a disproportionate amount of the revenues come from employer pay. Most of our students are full-time nurses who are going to school part-time, and their employers think enough of the quality of our program to reimburse the cost of attendance for those students, for those employees. So we like the fact that there's lots of objective criteria that students and employers and the Department of Education and other observers and investors can point to and say that's a quality program providing a valuable service to its customers, but also producing graduates who go on to provide a great social good.
It's no secret for anybody that's listening to this podcast, for anybody that's listened to 950 episodes that I've recorded, I'm a huge advocate for proprietary schools and career education. And I'm going to bring up another school in this podcast, but it's completely unrelated to what you do. It's the Aviation Institute of Maintenance, and they train airplane technicians. And you think to yourself, 22% of all airplane technicians are trained by this school, this proprietary school. And you think about what would happen if Adtalem stopped producing all these medical professionals and AIM stopped producing airline technicians. Like, you're talking about major infrastructure challenges. That's how important your school is to health and wellness in the United States. And there's just a story to be told here that I think is important for our audience to hear on the importance of this sector. And I remember I interviewed one of your past presidents of Walden a long time ago. And I'm this is coming to me, so you got to help me with this.
Sure.
I remember him saying something like Walden produced more black doctors, women and men, coming out of Walden than the HBCUs. There's, I don't remember the exact stat, but they're training black doctors.
Yeah, so absolutely, and that's a point of real personal pride to me. Your audience can't see me, but I am African American. I am first generation college student, son of a transit worker and a secretary. More than 50% of the students across our 5 institutions come from underrepresented minority groups. Many of them are the children of immigrants. Many of them grew up in homes where English wasn't the language spoken. Many of them are veterans who courageously served our country. And these are people who, for a variety of reasons, don't have the same kind of access to traditional post-secondary institutions. And it's a point of real pride to us at Adtalem that we're providing them opportunities that other institutions are not. So to your specific data point, our 2 medical schools, Ross and AUC, produce more physicians than any institutions, black physicians, than any institution in the United States. And that's inclusive of the 4 historically black college medical schools in the United States. Walden confers more PhDs to African Americans than any other institution in the United States.
There it is.
We also we produce a disproportionate number of Latino and Latina nurses, social workers, and physicians, and we're proud to partner with a number of Hispanic serving institutions that serve as pipeline feeders into our medical programs and our other graduate programs. What all of the research around health inequities and social determinants of health will tell you is that people receive more compassionate, culturally relevant care from folks who can identify with the unique circumstances of their backgrounds. So the more African American, the more Latino, the more immigrant physicians, clinicians, and other caregivers we can provide, the better the quality of care that Americans will receive at the bedside. And that's an important attribute of our institutions, and one we're quite proud of.
Tell them like it is.
How do you end up in, you said this is a point of pride for you, Steve. How do you end up as CEO? How did your journey take you into higher ed?
I'm a lawyer by training, but I grew up in Chicago, south side of the city, in a neighborhood called Roseland. Again, blue collar family. Was fortunate enough to find my way into university. I was the first person in my family to go to college. I've been extremely fortunate to have had any number of people along the way see something in me that maybe I didn't see in myself and intervene on my behalf to help me continue to progress academically and then ultimately professionally. Not because there's anything particularly special about me, Joe, but because I've just been very lucky. And what I love about this job is I get a chance to put a thumb on the scale to help students who may not be as lucky as I was. And I think traditional higher ed does a fantastic job. And I think there's a great place for institutions that go to market on the basis of high selectivity or historical prestige. I went to those institutions, but there's got to be a path for students for whom those institutions are not the right solution. And I think that's where a lot of proprietary institutions come in to fill that gap. And that's certainly how we view ourselves in medical education, as providing opportunities for ambitious folks to become physicians, to become nurses, to become social workers, who for one reason or another won't get access to the very, very narrow universe of seats available in traditional higher ed.
So true. Student success is a real big part of this. And I transition to that because, coming back around to your story as a first-gen student, there are students that get lost. They get lost in the university system. They get lost in the difficulties of life. Let's just be honest. I mean, you could be a struggling first-gen student in Chamberlain University in a nursing program. You're scraping by and you miss the bus that day, or you get an offender bender, or your kid's sick from school. There are so many reasons why students justify quitting school, taking a break, in their mind, taking a break. And because you don't have athletics and you don't have research and other ways to engage a student that other universities might, every resource you have has to go back around keeping those students on their path, because not that other schools don't do it that way, but you can engage a student in different ways. If you have athletics, you have different resources available to you. So everything is about getting to that class. It's about interacting with that faculty member. It's about trying to get through that next assignment to the next one, to the next one. Can you talk about how, since you came in 2021, and as you've seen growth over the last, let's say, 12 months, how do you look at student success investment now and into the future? Mark your calendars now for February 12th through 14th, because this is where we welcome the era of the modern learner and the most anticipated higher education marketing and enrollment management conference of the year. We're headed to New Orleans for Insights EDU 2025. This year's event is packed with speakers from companies like Google, Meta, Reddit, and MIQ Digital, and schools across the country. Ready to learn how AI is transforming the marketing landscape and how to adapt your programs to the preferences and demands of the modern learner? Then Insights EDU 2025 is where you need to be. Register now at insightsedu.com.
Attention.
Registration is now open for the Middle States Commission on Higher Education 2024 Annual Conference, Protecting the Future, Champions for Higher Education, December 11th through 13, 2024 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Don't miss out. Register today at msche.org/annual-conference. We'll see you there.
Hey, everybody. This is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience. Are you enjoying the conversation so far? Good. I hope so. Did you know that you can actually hear this conversation early before anybody else and ad-free, so you don't have to hear my voice during these ads? And did you also know that you could get extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content? That's right, original content and invites to special events, all while helping to sustain EdUp? Well, if you didn't know, now you know. So go to edupexperience.com, that's edupexperience.com, and become a subscriber today. First, you got to sign up to our free email newsletter, and then you'll find out how to become a subscriber. Again, go to edupexperience.com.
Yeah, so great question. Investments in student success and in student support that result in better rates of persistence through our programs are an extremely high return investment for a model like ours, where we fund our institutions through the tuition and fees of our students and obviously the contributions of employers along the way. Chamberlain University, for example, is the source of a set of proprietary research around the social determinants of learning, which takes a hard look at all of the ways, to your point, that the non-traditional student can be derailed in his or her journey academically, whether it's food insecurity, whether it's the need to maintain a full-time job, whether it's the need to raise a family while going to school at the same time, whether it's
housing insecurity.
Exactly. And then we take the research that we have and we think about what are the various things we can bring to bear by way of interventions that can mitigate those risks to persistence for students when they incur, whether that's small short-term loans that we can provide them in the event a car breaks down, whether that's access to a physician, a clinic, a social worker for something else going on in their lives, whether it's the ability to flex from a campus-based program to an online modality because of demands on work. So we invest a ton in those interventions because the most valuable thing to us and to the student is to keep them in the program and persisting through. During the pandemic, like every institution of higher ed, we had to take everything online. Everything had to move into the online modality. And what we learned there is the value of all the incredible data you get on how students engage with content and with coursework in that online modality. And as a result, we're using tech-enabled tools more than ever to monitor student progress, to provide nudges and intervene when students don't appear to be mastering material. We're using adaptive learning platforms to help it accelerate the mastery of certain concepts in our courses. Even in our medical schools where everything has to be campus-based, we're using these technologies to help with test prep, particularly step one MLE. So again, for an institution like ours whose sole focus is teaching, we do some research, but that's not our primary focus. Again, we don't sponsor athletic programs. We don't do a lot of other things that other universities do. We're able to throw the vast majority of our resources to student support, what we refer to at Adtalem as keeping the main thing the main thing. How do we get these students through the program and off to graduation?
I like your style, dude.
Keep the main thing the main thing. I like that. That's vision. That's a very simple vision statement that is very powerful. And I want to talk about that a little bit because you've got multiple institutions within the umbrella of Adtalem. Does each, as a leader, your CEO, are you managing multiple cultures within each institution? Does each one have its own really unique culture and geography to where you've got 5 different kids, kind of, for lack of a better way to describe it, you've got 5 or however many little kids with different personalities, but within those each school might have multiple schools with multiple geographies and their own cultures. And you start to think about how do you manage to that main thing as the main thing among messages that can be split by institution and then split by locations. How, there's a lot of, control is not the right word, but consistent messaging from your office that has to get all the way through the organization and vice versa. How do you do that amongst the different cultures, locations, people, areas, and so on?
Yeah, great question. So we absolutely have distinct institutional and organizational cultures across our 5 institutions. We have 5 distinct brands that show up in the marketplace with distinct value propositions. Both Chamberlain and Walden are nursing schools, the number 1 and number 3 nursing schools respectively, but they've got different brand propositions, different areas of emphasis and focus, and within those institutions, very different cultures. I actually think that's a source of strength for the portfolio. The folks at Chamberlain are justifiably proud of Chamberlain and Chamberlain Care, which is their call to action. And the folks at Walden are very, very proud of their longstanding commitment to social and academic justice. I think we can maintain those distinct personalities across the portfolio, while at the same time aligning on a few important principles that we all share. Access being the first, student centricity being the second. We are student-centric institutions. And success. We are training folks who go out into the world and provide an important social good to all of us as Americans, and are having maximum impact. So even though we've got different brands, different personalities, different styles, rivalries occasionally, we share a set of core values that we think are just super important across all 5 institutions.
And your favorite brand within the 5 is?
I have no favorite. I love all my brands equally.
Nailed it.
Well done. I was hoping we wouldn't have to cut that part out, Steve. No, I'm just kidding. Is it right? So, because everybody plays their own unique part. Can you just really quickly, because we have so many listeners that love the leadership piece of this, talk about scope. How many people are we talking about here at Adtalem? Just
from an employee perspective. Yes, so about 10,000 employees if you include both core and adjunct faculty. We've got critical mass geographically, in the Caribbean. We've got a school in Barbados. We've got one in St. Martin. We've got one in St. Kitts. I mentioned Chamberlain earlier, in 17 states around the United States. We've got one of our medical schools has a small program campus in Preston, England. We have corporate offices in Chicago and in Miramar, Florida, Minneapolis, and Columbia, Maryland. So we're spread out across the United States and the Caribbean, but it's a great family of institutions, and we're working hard to be an employer of choice, so that if you are someone who is interested in innovation around education, who has a passion for access and providing access to folks who have historically lacked that access, we want to be the employer of choice for you and provide a home where you can live out that mission and make an impact in the lives of students at scale, and then watch those students make an impact in the lives of our neighbors and friends all over the United States.
So for the listeners, I can see Steve. He's got a background. I don't know if that's fake background or not, but it's definitely not Barbados.
No, that's Chicago.
That's
You're
Chicago.
looking west.
So you're in Chi-Town?
In Chicago.
Nice. So I'm in St. Louis. We're gonna have to do one of these in person. I'll come up and see you in the office next time we do it. So Steve, we like to end our episodes with an open mic. I'm gonna just basically say, Steve. I'm not going to basically say it. I'm going to say it. What else do you want to say about Adtalem Global Education? Anything that we have not covered? Anything you think it's important for our audience to hear? Anything that you want to say that you just were looking for somebody to give you a microphone to say? Give us a couple minutes or minute. Anything you want to say at all?
Yeah, I would just want to remind your listeners, because I'm sure many of them have not heard the story, that Adtalem is a mission-led, purpose-driven organization. We are unique in higher education because of our scale, because of our healthcare focus, and because of our commitment to providing access to folks who wouldn't otherwise have it. We think it's a very, very, very special corner of the market in which to play. And we're committed to innovating around student success, and also over time becoming a systemically important partner to U.S. healthcare, which has a lot of challenges, does a lot of good, but its biggest challenge is its need for practice-ready workforce at scale, and we intend to meet that need head on. So the name is a little funny, difficult to pronounce. You may have never heard of it before, but we're doing what we think is important work, and we're thrilled to be able to share that story with all of your subscribers and listeners. So thank you for the opportunity.
So for everybody listening, I'm going to turn Steve into a futurist in the next the mini episode that we're about to record. But that's for our subscribers only. For those of you that are listening, we hope you've enjoyed this episode with our guest today. And we're going to, again, bring him right back. Here he is. He's Steve Beard. He is CEO at Adtalem Global Education. Steve, it's been a pleasure.
Pleasure's mine. Thanks for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've just upped. Okay, everybody, we're back with Steve. I promised he's going to become a futurist here. I've got two questions for him. And Steve, these are future of Adtalem. Where do you go? What do you do? What does it look like? Are you really going to go, global can mean many things. It can mean online, it can mean physical and place-based. And you're going to go out and get a journalism school? Like where are you focused? It is all going to be health. Lots of questions there. I said only two, but that's the first one. Take it how you want it.
Yeah. So if I look out in the future, Joe, and think about where we hope to see ourselves in 5 or 10 years, I think we anticipate being a much larger player in healthcare education. I think we have a ton of room to grow, and I think the demand for our graduates is growing in a way that is going to be durable over time. So I think we could be twice the size as we are today and still have a long way to go to make a dent in some of the chronic workforce shortages in healthcare. I think we'll always have a healthcare focus. We're not pure play healthcare. We do go to market with programs that are not healthcare focused. But I think there's real advantages in that healthcare focus, just given everything we know about what's happening in U.S. health. And so I look forward to taking full advantage of these chronic workforce shortages and being the go-to solution for hospitals, for other providers, and for payers in mitigating that risk to our collective health.
I'm surprised. I'm not surprised. It could be happening, but I mean the hospital systems that you probably work with that go, hey, look, during COVID, we had shortages of nurses. People were literally refusing to come in or not wanting to be a nurse. So that created shortages. Or the government, like the U.S. government has, as a part of national security, is probably thinking about healthcare and how we prevent the next pandemic. And what does that look like to have higher training? So I wonder, do you have a partnership arm to your business that is focused on, like, let's get this hospital or this healthcare business or the U.S. government or these state governments and try to work that through that way?
Yeah, so we have partnerships with literally hundreds of institutions across the United States, both on the provider side and the payer side. We are thinking differently about those partnerships post-COVID, and we're actively engaging with the largest partners about how we co-invest to take a bigger swing at these workforce shortages. Can we build bigger programs that provide proprietary pipelines of talent into specific health systems? We're also spending a ton of time with the Department of Health and Human Services thinking about how the federal government might do more to incentivize clinical training in healthcare and how we might partner with them to do that, so that we can bring more supply online. We're also discussing with them issues of population health, social determinants of health, and how we can work with the department and its stakeholders across the United States to make healthcare more responsive to underrepresented minorities who, as you know, don't quite have the same experience in healthcare that the majority of Americans enjoy. So we are thinking about the future of our business as one in which we are more closely tied to the large players in U.S. healthcare, both private, government, and otherwise.
Yeah, I think that's so important too, because if you look at the populations in the United States, either coming from lower income or where there are healthcare issues, inner cities, and so on, to be able to connect with the right agencies who have the right connections, you can't change from the outside in. You have to get it from the inside out, or it doesn't work. And education, I promised I only ask you two, but I know I got you for a couple more minutes.
No worries.
This value conversation that's happening in higher ed. Higher ed doesn't have value anymore. The degree doesn't have value. I I have said, and I would like, because you talked a lot about access, I'd like to know what you think. I believe that most people who were thinking about going to college in these educated generations that we have are still going to do that. What that messaging does is it affects the first-gen student, the student coming from a lower economic background, your black and brown students who haven't accessed college before, who hear that messaging and go, oh, wow, maybe I shouldn't go to college. And you just wonder what this messaging is going to do to people's opportunity to create generational wealth through education, and the alternative is not manifesting itself. And I think we're doing some serious damage to the United States through this messaging. That's my personal opinion. What do you think about this whole conversation?
I have a personal perspective, and I have a perspective as Adtalem CEO. So from a personal perspective, I think this drift of the conversation around the value proposition of college to being one tied directly to how much money someone earns within a few years after graduation does a huge disservice to young people in the United States. I'll give you a great example. I put myself through college as a bus driver for the Chicago Transit Authority. So I drove a bus at night every summer. And I was able to get that job because my dad worked for 39 years on the subway in the city. And every year, the transit system hires college students because ridership goes up and their more senior employees take holiday. After my third summer driving the bus, I was going to graduate from college. I had a job offer at what is now JP Morgan Chase. And of course, the Chicago Transit Authority offered me a full-time job driving the bus, which they typically do. Yep. I did the math on what I made driving the bus in terms of hourly pay plus overtime. And what my offer, this would have been 1993, my offer at the bank was going to be. And I went to my dad and I said to him, Dad, I think, with overtime, I'm going to make more driving the bus than I'm going to make at the bank. Right? And this is me graduating from college.
And you're using all your math skills right away, too.
My old man looks at me and he says, do you know how much you'll be making 10 years from now at the bank? I said, I don't know. He says, well, I can tell you exactly what you'll be making 10 years from now on the bus. And it's going to be a lot less than what you're making at the bank. So go take the bank job. And I share that anecdote because the value of a college education is one that pays dividends over a lifetime. Higher education is a bona fide engine for social and economic mobility. I'm living proof of that. You're living proof of that. And I think we do kids a disservice by suggesting that if there isn't some immediate payoff for college, college isn't for them. And I think that's a reflection of the fact that, we've decided to let the cost of college rise the way it has and finance that cost with debt. So off the personal soapbox, but I agree with you. It's not the right way to think about all of the skills that come from a high quality post-secondary education experience.
Such a day, and then you probably have to think about the students who don't have their dad sitting right there who are trying to make their decision on their own. I mean, how many students come from a Latino or Latina background where their parents are speaking a different language and don't even understand that math because they can't, and it's hard to explain. I mean, there's just so many reasons why that's so. I've used this example on the podcast before. And I see it now because I've got it on my Instagram, but it's a picture of Elon Musk. Somebody made a meme and it's him as in a superhero outfit. And it says you can make more money watching these 4 channels on YouTube. You make as much money as Elon Musk. You don't need your 4-year college degree. You just go, who's looking at that going, oh man, I don't have to go to college now. It's just like, even if there's one person, what have we done? I mean, what have we done? So this is such I'm glad that to hear you say that, because I think that's so important to hear that from our leaders that have influence globally, that we are, this only happens in the U.S. Like in other places of the world, they're dying for a degree, especially a U.S. college degree. They're like literally run over each other for it. But here we're going, not a big deal. Maybe that's the United States attitude these days, that we don't know how to value the things that we have. But speaking of value, Steve, tell us, last question, I promise, crystal ball, what do you see for the future of higher education?
So listen, I think the population of freshly admitted 18-year-old college graduates who are prepared to show up at a residential-based university for a 4-year degree in the traditional mold, I think that population is going to shrink dramatically. We talk about the demographic cliff all the time. And colleges and universities that rely on a steady stream of that profile are going to struggle accordingly. And I wish them well as they navigate that, because I think that that's a real challenge for what is an overbuilt cohort of colleges and universities. At the same time, the universe of folks for whom some sort of alternative path, part-time, flexible program, I think that universe of prospective student is going to grow. And I am pleased for our business and our stakeholders that we're prepared to meet those students where they are in the future, because that opportunity, it's already large. It's just going to get that much larger over time. It will be interesting to see how traditional colleges and universities respond to that, and whether they decide that it's in their interest to try to figure out how to serve that student. But whether they do or not, we fully intend to be there to meet those students where they are and to help them realize their academic and professional ambitions.
Oh boy, do I have stories that I could tell you, institutions that try and can't get out of their own way, their own models. It's a whole thing. But we're not going to talk about that because we don't have any more time. We are going to talk about how awesome this episode has been, Steve, and it's due to you and the content that you've brought from Adtalem and the work that you're doing. We appreciate you here at the EdUp Experience. I would urge the listeners to follow Adtalem. You'll want to watch very closely. If anything that Steve said comes to fruition, they're going to be doubling their population in the next couple of years, and that will be a good thing for all of us as we have more healthcare workers. Steve, we hope you had fun today as you got to talk about higher ed too.
It was a real pleasure. Hope to do it again soon sometime.
Sounds great to me. Ladies and gentlemen, he's Steve Beard. He is the CEO of Adtalem Global Education. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what you've done. You've just EdUp'd. Higher ed leaders, ready to level up your marketing and enrollment strategy? Join us at Insights EDU February 12th through 14th in New Orleans. The ultimate higher education marketing and enrollment management conference is here. Take advantage of early bird prices until December 12th. Register now at insightsedu.com. Welcome to the era of the modern learner.
Attention.
Registration is now open for the Middle States Commission on Higher Education 2024 Annual Conference, Protecting the Future, Champions for Higher Education, December 11th through 13th, 2024 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Don't miss out. Register today at msche.org/annual-conference or head to msche.org and click on the conference link. I'll see you there.
Hey, everybody. This is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience. Did you enjoy that conversation? I hope you did. Did you know that you can actually hear this conversation early on and ad-free? And you can also hear extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content. That's right, original content, and invites to special events, all while helping to sustain EdUp. Did you know that? Well, if you didn't know, now you know. To become a subscriber, go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com to subscribe to our free email newsletter to learn how you can get access. Again, that's edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com.